It's time to break down the Buffalo Bills Week 13 opponent, the challenges they present, and what the Bills need to do to deal with them today on Locked On Bills.
You are Locked On Bills, your daily Buffalo Bills podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Bills Mafia? It's Joe Marino, author of Go Bills and Buffalo's Run, also the co-host of the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast, and I'm your host of Locked On Bills. I want to thank you for making Locked On Bills your first listen every day, and a big welcome and shout out to our everydayers. You know who you are. Those of you who never miss a single episode, I appreciate you all being here very, very much. I'd also like to invite you to subscribe or follow for free on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Well, folks, welcome in. The Bills are back in action in Week 13. The bye week is over. It's time to go on a run. The Bills are hot. They've won 6 in a row and looking to stack some more wins, compete for that number 1 seed in the AFC. And next up is the San Francisco 49ers. So we're going to break them down. We'll talk special teams, Niners defense against the Bills offense, Niners offense against the Bills defense, all the stuff that we do to get ready for a game. And of course, it's Week 13. Bills are hosting the 49ers. The game will be played on Sunday, December 1st at 8:20 p.m. Eastern Time at Highmark Stadium in Orchard Park, New York. The game will be broadcasted on NBC. Mike Tirico is on the play-by-play. Everyone's favorite Chris Collinsworth is the game analyst, and Melissa Stark is your sideline reporter. This will be the 14th all-time meeting between the Bills and Niners. The Bills are 7-6 all-time against San Francisco under Sean McDermott. The Bills are 1-0, 34-24 win back in 2020. The game was played in Arizona. It was the COVID year. It was supposed to be played in San Francisco. Bills won that game. Josh Allen was on fire. 32 of 40, 375 yards, 4 touchdowns in that one. The Bills enter this game 9-2, first place in the AFC East, number 2 seed in the AFC. The 49ers are 5-6. They're the number 4 team in the NFC West. Only a game out of first place, though. That NFC West is really, really jumbled up right now. And the Niners are the number 11 seed in the NFC. Of course, the reigning NFC champions, not off to a great start this year. They've won 5 games, like I mentioned. Those were against the Jets, the Patriots, Seahawks, Cowboys, and Bucks. Their 6 losses have come to the Vikings, Rams, Cardinals, Chiefs, Seahawks, and Packers. Head coach of this team is Kyle Shanahan. He's 44 years old. He's in his 8th season with the 49ers. They have a 69-57 record under Kyle Shanahan. They are 8-4 in the playoffs. 7 full seasons to this point, 3 losing seasons, 4 winning seasons. In all 4 winning seasons, they went to the playoffs and, in fact, went to the NFC Championship game. In all 4 of their playoff appearances under Kyle Shanahan, they won 2 of those NFC Championship games, but then lost both Super Bowls to the Kansas City Chiefs. The quarterback for this team, well, I think it's going to be Brock Purdy, but maybe not. Things are weird there. He wound up not playing last week in their loss to Green Bay. And just kind of randomly late in the week, shoulder soreness was ruled out. So far this week, I'm recording this on Wednesday evening, so there's probably a lot more information to come. Limited participant in practice on Wednesday. We just don't know. And obviously a throwing shoulder, that's sore, that kept him out of the game, still limited. Who knows what's going to happen here? So I'm going to do this as if Brock Purdy's going to play. But keep in mind, there's a possibility that Brandon Allen's going to be the starting quarterback, and I think he's a replacement level backup quarterback in the NFL. That is a significant, massive downgrade from Brock Purdy. But let's talk about Brock Purdy, who is 24 years old, 6'1", 220 pounds, 7th round pick, number 262 overall in 2022 out of Iowa State. Has started 31 career games and the Niners have a 22-9 record in those 31 starts. So far this year, he's completing 66% of his passes, 261 passing yards per game, 13 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, and a passer rating of 95.9. His deeper metrics, he's averaging plus 0.18 EPA per dropback. That's 5th best in the NFL. Throws deep, which is 20 yards or more down the field, 8.2% of the time. That's 28th in frequency. So not pushing the ball down the field very much at all. When he does throw it down the field, he's 13 of 29 for 397 yards, 3 touchdowns, and an interception. Yards after catch not happening for the 49ers. 38% of Purdy's yards come after the catch. That's dead last in the NFL. Comfortably dead last. First read, 66% of the time. That's 18th in the NFL, so kind of middle of the pack. Average time to throw, 2.74 seconds. That's 26th, so not a very fast trigger for Brock Purdy, despite maybe what you would think for a Kyle Shanahan quarterback. Catchable ball rate is 77%. That's 11th best in the NFL. Off-target throw rate is 16%. That is 17th in the NFL. Turnover-worthy throw percentage is 2.5%. That's 11th in the NFL. Drop rate is 4.2%. That's 18th. Facing a lot of pressure this year. 37% of his dropbacks, he's under pressure. That's 27th in the NFL. That's high. 20% play action rate, which is low, only 23rd in the NFL, despite being number 1 in EPA per dropback with play action. So hopefully Kyle Shanahan doesn't figure that out. And 6.3% of his dropbacks are screen plays. That's also not very frequent. That's 26th in the NFL. So Purdy in this 49ers offense is just really kind of strange to me based on the way this season is going. There's been a lot of issues around him. Of course, Christian McCaffrey and that whole situation where he didn't play until the last couple of weeks. Some type of Achilles deal. He's overseas getting stem cell treatments. Brandon Ayuk, torn ACL, out for the season. They draft Ricky Pearsall in the first round. He gets shot before the season and misses a bunch of time. George Kittle's missed time. Had some offensive line injuries. It's just been really shaky around him. And I've talked about Brock Purdy before on this podcast and on Locked On NFL Scouting, and I'm not afraid to admit that Brock Purdy's a hard evaluation for me. He's a low tools quarterback, doesn't have much size, doesn't have much athleticism, doesn't have much arm talent, but he's a gamer. He's just a gamer. He just makes plays. There's some like Doug Flutie vibes to him where you're just like, I don't know how that worked, but it did. And so I'm just kind of waiting for it to all catch up with him, but it continues to not. He's taken this team to the Super Bowl. He's been very good. I think he had an MVP case last season. But when you watch him play, it's just difficult because it's not textbook quarterback play, and it's not textbook quarterback play with high physical traits like big-time arm talent or size or athleticism. He just kind of makes plays, and he's really interesting. Has some really crazy moments off script where it just kind of works out, where he can extend the play and somehow make people miss and launch it down the field, and it winds up being a catch. So he's a challenging player for me, and a lot of people want to say that Brock Purdy is a system quarterback. I don't know. There's very little play action in this Kyle Shanahan offense. Like, there's no run tags on their play passes. There's very little screens. He's middle of the pack when throwing to his first read. Yards after catch isn't happening. It's just kind of a really unique situation that maybe you wouldn't metrically expect any of this from a Kyle Shanahan quarterback. So we'll see if he plays. If not, it'll be Brandon Allen. And if that's the case, boy, do I have big expectations for the Bills defense against the 49ers. If Brock Purdy goes, it's a different ballgame. We'll have to pay attention to that throughout the course of the week. All right, coming up on the other side of it, we'll talk about the rest of the offense, the supporting cast, and my keys for the Bills defense against this offense. Be sure to stick with me. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. And there's some road underdog money lines that I like this week. I like the Pittsburgh Steelers to go into Cincinnati as road underdogs and win that football game. And I like this one a lot. The Titans. I like Tennessee going into Washington as 5.5-point road dogs and winning that game. So if you want to tail me on a couple of road underdog money lines, those are the two I'm after this week. That's take advantage over at FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. The offensive coordinator for the 49ers is, well, it's Kyle Shanahan. They don't really have anyone on their staff that's labeled offensive coordinator. Chris Forster probably is sort of that. He's their offensive line coach. He's the run game coordinator. But really, this is Kyle Shanahan's offense. He calls the plays. He designs it all. He's the guy. Metrically, they're scoring 24 points per game this year. That's 13th. They pass the ball 53% of the time. They run it 47%. Those splits are very, very close to what the Bills do in terms of pass and run frequency. They're 8th in EPA per play on offense. They're 10th in EPA per pass. They're 8th in EPA per rush. Convert third downs 44% of the time. That's 6th best. Red zone, not going well. 50% touchdown rate in the red zone. That's 25th. Let's talk about their personnel here. At wide receiver, it's not Brandon Ayuk. He was off to a really good start and, of course, is one of the more dynamic receivers in the NFL. He signed the big extension after the holdout. Blew out his knee. He's not available. Juwan Jennings has been the number one targeted player in this offense. And maybe you don't know Juwan Jennings. If not, you need to get familiar. He's a fun player. Kind of a power slot. Big dude, big, thick dude. 6'2", 215, 220 pounds. And he's really, really physical. Is going to really bring it at the top of routes. He's going to bring it in contested situations, has good ball skills and body control. There's a lot to like. He's a football player that I really like. He doesn't have much athleticism, right? He's not a burner or anything like that, but boy, is he physical. He's aggressive, and he's a dog at the catch point, and he's a dog with the ball in his hands. I really like Juwan Jennings. He's become kind of the go-to guy, if you will, in this passing game this season. Deebo Samuel, they still got that guy. Dense build, yards after catch, can make some really spectacular plays. The production isn't quite there this year like it's been in previous years, but he's a very dangerous player. And then Ricky Pearsall, their first-round draft pick that had the unfortunate situation in San Francisco before the season where he got shot. He's back, and Pearsall is an interesting player, like a very good route runner, smooth player, but hasn't had a ton of production, obviously. A very strange situation. Has 17 targets in 5 games so far this season. I don't think he had any catches the last 2 weeks. At tight end, they got that dude, George Kittle. Boy, he's good. Good football player. He's a little hobbled up right now. I suppose he'll probably play. And I think he's one of the best 3 tight ends in the league. George Kittle. I mean, really good down the field, really good hands, super physical with the ball in his hands, like one of the better yards after catch tight ends in the league. Can really go up and get the football. He's a problem at tight end. He's a good football player. They also have Eric Saubert, who's a journeyman tight end that's played on like 7 different teams. At running back, Christian McCaffrey's back. Has he been Christian McCaffrey? The guy we've seen for so many years. Doesn't feel like it to this point. Again, I think you can apply some of the conversation that I had about Brock Purdy and instability around him. And, obviously it's coming in the middle of the season and playing. It's not easy to do that. So he hasn't quite been vintage Christian McCaffrey, but he's still Christian McCaffrey. So somebody got to account for that. I'm sure will continue to ramp up and improve as he gets settled into this offense. Now, in his absence, Jordan Mason was their bell cow back and had some good production. Physical, right? Physical downhill between the tackles runner. Can really, fight for yards after contact. He's kind of built for that power run style. And you also have to be mindful of Kyle Juszczyk, their fullback. He'll play a little bit of tight end, kind of serve as a wing from time to time. Does some of the Alec Ingold stuff that we see Miami do with their fullback and a versatile player that you got to be mindful of. They will throw it to him a little bit. So when it comes to the order of the weapons in this passing game, number 1 guy in terms of targets is Juwan Jennings. 65 targets in 9 games this year. Then you have George Kittle, who has 59 targets in 9 games. Deebo Samuel has 56 targets in 10 games. Kyle Juszczyk has 21 targets this year. And then there's like the new guys. Ricky Pearsall, 17 targets in 5 games. Christian McCaffrey, 16 targets in 3 games. So I think Jennings, Kittle, Samuel, McCaffrey is probably your most likely target getters in this game. Sprinkle a little bit of Pearsall, a little bit of Juszczyk as well. So, as they've lost Ayuk and they get a couple players back, it's hard to really say who the priorities are for them, but it's that group. And you can't sleep on Juwan Jennings, who's been the most targeted player this season. And again, only in 9 games. This offensive line is interesting. Their left tackle, Trent Williams, one of the premier players in the NFL, regardless of position. Who knows if he's going to play? Reports on Wednesday were that walking was hard for him, and he's in like one of those roller scooters, and people that observed him said he was having a tough go. If there's anybody that can not walk on Wednesday and be a good player on Sunday night, it's probably Trent Williams. He's one of those rare dudes. A phenomenal football player. This offensive line takes a major hit if he can't go. Now, they got a good backup left tackle in Jalen Moore. He's in his 4th season. He started 8 games. He's played in 635 snaps to this point. He's no slug, but he's also no Trent Williams, right? So there's a drop-off there, but I don't look at Jalen Moore as, oh my goodness, that's Bobby Hart, right? Or a turnstile at left tackle. They got a decent backup there. The left guard is Aaron Banks. He's been their starter for a few years. Big physical blocker. Jake Brendel is their center. One of those guys that is very system specific. I don't know that Jake Brendel is going to start for a lot of teams, but he can for the 49ers. Really like their right guard, Dominic Puni out of Kansas, a rookie. Loved him a ton coming out this year. I was hopeful that the Bills would draft him. 49ers did, and it's no surprise to me that he's starting as a rookie and playing well. Then the right tackle is Colton McKivitz, who I think has just kind of gotten better and better throughout the years. I work on the whole NFL, and I feel like I keep on trying to find a replacement for Colton McKivitz at right tackle for the 49ers when I do mock drafts or I do team building stuff or free agency stuff. And they keep rolling with McKivitz, and I think he's probably playing the best football of his career. I don't think he's a plus player, but he's sufficient. So it's like sufficient level players in Banks, Brendel, and McKivitz, not plus players. Good-looking young rookie in Puni at right guard. Then they have an all-world left tackle if he can play. If not, another serviceable guy in Jalen Moore. So what are my keys for the Bills on defense against this offense? Number 1, heat up the quarterback. Heat up this quarterback. If Purdy's going to play and he's going to hold on to the football and try to play off script against you, you better make him pay. Number 2 is get ready to cover the middle of the field. They're going to throw the ball to the middle of the field. That's where they throw it. This is a team that likes to attack the spine of your defense. So Terrell Bernard, the safeties, Matt Milano, whoever's going to play at linebacker next to Terrell Bernard, I think you get ready to get tested. Teron Johnson, get ready to get tested. Juwan Jennings, George Kittle, middle of the field, it's coming. Deebo Samuel, middle of the field, it's coming. Number 3 is get ready for Christian McCaffrey, the receiver. The Bills' defense has given up the most catches and yards to running backs this season. McCaffrey's probably the best receiving running back in the NFL over the last decade, right? He's an unbelievable catcher of the football. Be ready to deal with that. And then lastly, run defense. The 49ers are going to run the football. That's what they've done. They have a dynamic run scheme. Mike McDaniel with the Dolphins kind of comes off this tree, so you get some iterations of that. In Miami, they'll wham block, they'll trap, they'll run inside zone. They're not as much of a horizontal wide zone team that Miami is, but they got some dynamic inside zone stuff with how they trap and pull guys, and that's giving the Bills some trouble. And so you got to have the right plan against the run this week. I don't think you should be shy about rolling a safety down, doing some one-high looks. I think you have some opportunities here. You want to play 3 linebackers? Do it if you got Milano and Dorian Williams ready to go. So have the right plan to defend the run because it's coming this week. Especially if Purdy can't go, but also, Purdy's got a shoulder deal, a throwing shoulder deal. If he can play, what's the velocity look like? He doesn't have much to lose. Can he really throw it down the field? They're going to lean on the run game. They're going to come to Highmark Stadium on Sunday Night Football, potentially some snow, and they're going to want to run the football. well, you better get ready to defend the run because it's coming. All right, folks, on the other side of it, we're talking Bills offense against the Niners defense. Be sure to stick with me. There's nothing like being at the stadium, watching Josh Allen throw touchdown passes. Are you kidding me? Now, if you want to get to the stadium, you got to get the Game Time app. Game Time is the fast and easy way to purchase tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater events near you. The app is awesome. It's easy to navigate. They give you flash deals. They give you a picture from your seat so you know exactly what it's going to look like when you get to your chair. They give you this really cool thing where if you buy a ticket, send it straight to your phone so you don't have to dig through emails to find it. And I love this. They specialize in last-minute tickets. So all these tours, these concerts that are getting announced, down the road, maybe you don't know if you can go to that today, but don't worry, you'll get a great ticket and a great price over at Game Time. Take the guesswork completely out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNFL. That's LOCKEDON NFL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It's game time. All right, let's talk about this 49ers defense against the Bills offense. The coordinator for the 49ers is Nick Sorensen. They've been through some coordinators under Kyle Shanahan. Robert Saleh, D'Amico Ryans, Steve Wilks. Nick Sorensen's the next guy up here. 46 years old. His first year as their defensive coordinator was an assistant defensive coach the last 2 years in San Francisco. Prior to that, a long run in Seattle as a special teams assistant early on, then a defensive backs coach. I think Kyle Shanahan really likes that Seattle style of defense, right? It seems like every coach that he's brought in has a lot of that influence, of course, starting with Robert Saleh. Metrically, it's not really going too well here. 24 points per game this season allowed. That's 21st in the NFL. They're 13th in EPA per play, 10th in EPA per pass, 20th in EPA per rush. They give up a third down conversion on 44% of the opportunities. That's not good, 26th in the league. Red zone defense is not good at all, 68%, allowing touchdowns in the red zone. That's 29th in the NFL. Let's talk about the personnel. On the edge, they got one of the blue chip defensive ends in the game right now. That's Nick Bosa. Is he going to play? I don't think he's going to. He's got this core muscle injury. That takes time. He missed last week. If he plays, he's a game wrecker, right? One of the best defensive ends in the league. I don't think he's going to play. They have Leonard Floyd. Leonard Floyd played with the Bills last year. He does what he does, right? Designated pass rusher, not much of a run defender, but a veteran that knows how to get after the quarterback. Yetur Gross-Matos, who they signed from Carolina. I think they way overpaid him. Think like Shaq Lawson type player. And then this younger player whose name is very difficult to pronounce. Okuwianunu. I don't know. Look, that's probably going to get clipped, and I'm going to be embarrassed for that. I don't know how to say the guy's name. I'm sorry. My deepest apologies. I don't know how to say this guy's name. He's been playing a little bit off the edge as well. At defensive tackle, this is not a good group. Malik Collins, Jordan Elliott, those are the starters. Malik Collins, I like him as a pass rusher. He's been getting mauled against the run since I watched him in college. It's been going on in the NFL too. His running mate is Jordan Elliott, who's athletic, but not a guy that has any anchor either. Kind of flamed out as a third-round pick of the Browns. He's come to the Niners and has not been very, very consistent either. And then they're backed up by Kevin Givens, who's this 285-pound defensive tackle. They always seem to have this type of player, and you saw this with the Jets, like this Solomon Thomas type tweener player that they like to bring in on pass rush situations. That's what he gives this team. And Kalia Davis is like a 6th-round pick, athletic, but has not really proven to be a consistent player. So they have athleticism. They have a ton of athleticism at defensive tackle. None of these guys have much power or anchor. And I think that's why their run metrics are poor. And look, Javon Hargrave is a handsomely paid defensive tackle. He's out for the season. So they don't really have what they are supposed to have here. If Javon Hargrave's part of this mix, I think that's a different conversation at defensive tackle. They don't have him. At linebacker, they got one of the best in the league, Fred Warner. And it just came out that he's been playing with a fractured bone in his ankle since week 4. Fred Warner is one of the best defensive players in the league, certainly one of the best linebackers in the league. And, he's certainly played with this for a long time. So I'm guessing 75% or whatever percent of Fred Warner is going to be better than whatever else they would have. His running mate is Devondre Campbell. Dre Greenlaw is the preferred player there, but he got injured. And they actually activated his window. I don't know if he's going to play. Probably not. Devondre Campbell's a veteran in the NFL who's kind of bounced around lately, has had good years, but is now kind of a stopgap type player, which is exactly what he's brought to San Francisco to do. Kind of be the stopgap until Dre Greenlaw is ready to go. At corner, this is another dicey situation based on availability. They do get Charvarius Ward back. I think Charvarius Ward is a really good player, and he missed some time. His young daughter tragically passed away. Very, very, very heartbreaking situation. Took some personal time, and he's expected back this week. And Charvarius Ward is actually the player that I often compare Christian Benford to. I think they're very, very similar. A good player, very good tackler, physical, really good zone corner that has some man ability. I think he's a nice player, and he's in a contract year. Now, the rest of this cornerback situation is going to be interesting. Deommodore Lenoir is their slot corner, and they just paid him a massive contract, 5 years, $88 million. He didn't practice on Wednesday with a knee injury. I don't know if he's going to go. That's a big loss if he can't go. I don't know what the plan would be at slot. Would it be Renardo Green, who's a rookie, who's played on the outside, that has some snaps this year in the slot? Is it Rocky Sin, who's like a veteran that's bounced around a little bit, never really panned out as a decently high pick? They also have Isaac Yiadom, who's a really good depth player, like a Dane Jackson type guy for them. So between those players, someone's playing in the slot, someone's playing outside opposite of Charvarius Ward. But they got to figure that out. Good-looking pair of young safeties here. Jair Brown, who was a third-round pick out of Penn State, gives you that center fielder type guy. And then they drafted Malik Mustafa, another one of my draft crushes. They got some guys I really liked in this draft, in Malik Mustafa and Dominic Puny. But Mustafa's an absolute missile at safety. Has some coverage ability. He's a good-looking young player. Versatile. I think he's going to be a stud for a long time on this defense. So they're young, but they're performing really well. So they got some personnel things to figure out. Is Bosa going to be able to go? Is Deommodore Lenoir going to be able to go? I don't know. They'll figure it out. They're going to play the game, whether those guys can go or not. So what are my keys here? Number one, you got to smash this defensive line. This defensive tackle group, like respectfully, your interior offensive line should be able to win consistently, reset the line of scrimmage, and move bodies out of the way all game long. David Edwards, Connor McGovern, Osiris Torrance, you guys got to go out there and eat. Number two is take advantage of opportunities in the slot. If Deommodore Lenoir can't go, and they have him and Devondre Campbell as two of their second-level players, you're going to have a lot of good opportunities in the slot to Khalil Shakir, to whoever you want to play in the slot. I mean, Curtis Samuel a little bit. I don't think Dalton Kincaid's going to be able to go, but if he can, you should have some good opportunities to win there. And then number three is take your profits. San Francisco is a pretty vanilla defense. They don't really blitz a ton. They defend the deep ball well. If they want to come up and make tackles, take your profits. I don't think you have to do extraordinary things and big play hunt against the 49ers. Stay on schedule. Take profits. They're not a good situational defense. They don't win on third downs. They don't win in the red zone. Just stay on schedule. Just do the right thing with the football over and over again. I think you're going to score a lot of points. Special teams wise, their kicker is Jake Moody, second-year kicker, third-round pick out of Michigan. So far this year, he's 17-17 on extra points. He's 18-22 on field goals. He's missed 2 beyond 50, and he's missed 2 between 40 and 49. 82% this year, 82% as well for his career. That's what he is to this point. They do touchbacks almost always. 18% of kicks are returned. That's about the same rate as Tyler Bass. I talked about this with Eric Crocker yesterday on the crossover preview. The 49ers have the worst special teams in the league, metrically, however you want to measure it. EPA, DVOA, it's been terrible. And a lot of that's in the punting game. And Mitch Wisnowski's their punter. He's a good NFL punter, 6th season. But they are just getting gashed. He's 18 yards per return so far this year. Normal in the 5 years before this year Wisnowski's had like 8 yards on average per return. It's at 18 this year. And then the returners, they're leaving it up to rookies here. Jacob Cowing's been doing the punts. He had a couple of muffs. Ricky Parasol did the punt returns last week. I'd assume it's going to be him again. And then their kick returner is Isaac Garendo, who's a rookie out of Louisville, a running back, 6'1", 225 with 4.33 speed. I don't want to mess with that guy, especially in a game like this. Right? Garendo hasn't had a lot of production as a kick returner this year, but he's big and he's fast. And in a game like this, there's no reason to give them any type of momentum. And I'm a competitive guy. I like the idea of covering kicks and, burying them deep in their own zone and all that stuff. Like, I'm into all that. But in a game like this where it's 6'1", 225 with 4.3 speed, don't allow that guy to give them a spark when you feel like, especially if Brock Purdy can't go, it's going to be tough for them to move the ball and score. Don't give them any hope with that type of stuff. So I would stay away. I would stay away, even though there's not a big resume of him being productive on kick returns this year. So there you have it. That's the 49ers. The challenges they present. My keys for the Bills. This game looked a lot different when the schedule came out, right? 49ers reigning NFC champs. Brock Purdy is going to get all the money at quarterback. And then this season has just been difficult. And part of that's just like contracts too. Ayuk's holding out, and Trent Williams had his own situation. And then you have guys that are just getting hurt left and right. The Christian McCaffrey situation. It's been a trying year for San Francisco. But there's a part of me that looks at them as a team that is not unlike the Bills last year. Like I said to Crocker yesterday on the Crossover Thursday. Is this the team that can rally, go on a run, and be a problem in the playoffs? I think there's a chance of that. But there could just be too many injuries at this point, especially we're talking about Trent Williams, Purdy's shoulder, Bosa, Diamador Lenore, Fred Warner's playing with a fractured bone in his ankle. Not to mention Ayuk and Hargrave, who are already out. Talanoa Hufanga, the good-looking young safety, he's out. John Feliciano, who's been a starter for them, he's out for the year. It's been tough. But the Bills got to take care of their business because this team, despite everything that's going on, they're 5-6. They're one game out of first place in that division. I mean, you could blink an eye and the 49ers can go on a run. The next thing you know, they're hosting playoff games. So they're going to want to have this one if they can get it. All right, folks, that's it for us here today. We'll have one more podcast for you to get ready for this game. Of course, my final thoughts. We'll talk injuries with Dr. Kyle Trimble and my predictions for Sunday night. All right, that's it for today. Thanks for being here, folks. As always, I kindly ask that you share, subscribe, rate, and review. Have a great rest of your day. Go Bills, and I look forward to catching up with you again real soon.